Hey guys, Victor here. Today we're going to be looking at a new variation in the modern Sicilian line. So this is the modern Sicilian line. I call it the modern because the knight comes out. And here I was thinking about, this is a move, maybe this is a move to block off the queen. But then I came up with this idea, because this is a very freeing move for green, as System once pointed out. So after red moves over here, blue moves the pawn up to prevent the check, so that the queen can come out freely. And here, yellow does this. As stated, this is now not a move, because of the check threat with the take threat. So for example, if green does move the pawn up there, then red moves over here, and blue, being smart, knows that yellow is going to go for a check. So let's say you wanted to see if you couldn't exploit it somehow. You wanted to go for some kind of check, take the queen. Well, you can take the queen, but red will also take green's queen. So in the end, this is much better for red and yellow. So clearly, up here is not the move that can be played. And, well, I guess the threat is the bishop taking over here. And the queen can take the knight to create checkmate, but then the blue queen will have to sacrifice on yellow if it's ignored. So red and yellow get a queen and a knight for a queen, in the end winning the exchange, which is why this check must be addressed right now. So this move must be played to prevent the checkmate threat. Here is red. You still have to be wary of this queen. It still has an eye on this square, which coordinates very well with this knight and this queen. So there are two main options, rather few main options. These pawns up, originally it was thought that this pawn up would be best, but actually the light squares are not really the focal point, now that green has a little wall, and blue's queen is free. I think the best move is actually the bishop up. The reason why is that it can coordinate with this queen for attack on the green queen. Not to mention it can coordinate with this light squared bishop, attacking the queen and creating a check threat, while protecting this pawn. So at this point, blue has a couple of options. Which red queen square do you want to block off? Really depends. Both are good. I think this is a better one, perhaps. Because if you move the queen here, as yellow, you might want to play a stalling move. I think this is still the best move in this variation. And then as green, let's say that for some reason you don't push the pawn. You want to make the queen free, or perhaps even better. Yeah, let's just say you move the knight up. Well, here, if red wants to take and thinks, okay, I can do this, well, blue can actually block. And so, as yellow, you might think, well, maybe I can do this, and then you have this nice little mate threat here. Thing is, blue has two different checks on yellow. So the idea is it doesn't work here now, because red's queen cannot block off both squares for blue to move in the next turn. Not to mention the knight can also help out. So here the bishop cannot capture just yet. Another thing to note is that pawn up to get the queen free is also something that can be considered here. And part of the black squared bishop here, dark squared bishop, is you're training an eye on that knight. So if the queen wants to get out, put itself into danger, then you can also go in for a capture. And because this knight here is pinned, green cannot coordinate with blue to attack red's weak squares, allowing this knight capture. So I really don't know how to continue this. It said this is a new opening idea with many different opening lines to consider. One thing I do think, said after the knight moves over here, I guess this is also an idea. Might be harder for the queen to come out, but I guess it would block off the diagonal. I think this is not a good idea, but just one little thing that I saw was that if you do push the pawn up there, then red is really ready to move the queen out now. And let's say blue wants to prevent the knight moving in for the threat to create this mating idea on blue. Well, after the knight moves up, queen can actually go here. Green might think, oh, you know, that's, of course, that doesn't work. 1 second, my mistake. This variation was actually when the blue queen moved here. So here that square is blocked, so the red queen has to move here next. So in this variation, if green goes over here, or moves over here, then blue can block off the knight, yellow goes here, and if green takes, red is ready to leap into action with this move here. So blue is smart, sees that there's no longer the check threat on yellow, realizes he has to spring into action, so he has to create some kind of check threat. So yellow can actually just take here. And here, to do is red, is you can immediately recognize there's a mate threat going on. So move over there. And of course, that is the mate threat. So you have to take, and then yellow can actually take, whoops, not over there, but over here, revealing another mate threat on blue. And of course, you have to deal with this pawn now. Now, if you take back, red's going to take advantage of this pin, and blue is forced to block off this checkmate threat. So here, of course, yellow moves in for mate. So you can't capture back. One thing you can do here is you can move the king over here. Yellow's going to move over here next. And I haven't really looked ahead to how the play continues, but after you do that, assume you could look into this. It's one definite option. And of course, you have this mate threat with the queens, threatening the knight, which is blocking the square that the light square bishop protects, so the red queen can create a mate threat on its own too. So I think this is also really good for red and yellow. At any rate, I wanted to share this opening idea with you guys. I think it's best for red and yellow. And given the formation of these two bishops, I call this the twin dragon variation because it's somewhat reminiscent of the dragon variation in the Sicilian Yugoslav attack. So, hope you like the video. If you have any ideas or think I missed anything, feel free to let me know. And I'll catch you next time. Peace out.